WWE releases then. Should we go through? So right, okay. So 8 more stars released. And we're looking at John Morrison, Shane Thorne, Tegan Knox, the 3 remaining members of Hit Row. We're looking at Drake Maverick, and...
I can remember right until now.
This, I mean... Well, it's not surprising, but it is surprising, isn't it?
Well, apparently these are the names that were listed to be going a couple of weeks ago when there was that long one, but... Well, some of them anyway. Don't think it was all of them.
I just think it's strange. Like I still can't really wrap my head around this because it's a further 8 more talents that have been released. And it's only been 2 weeks since the last batch, and these names, although they weren't, I don't, in the nicest way, some of them weren't as surprising as the ones from a fortnight ago. But then some are really kind of head scratchers again because you've got people that have just been called up. Mm-hmm. Some people in there that don't meet what Vince, I suppose, would deem as like the older people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there had been like rumour that certain wrestlers of a certain age would probably be going. Well, should we start with, obviously, the big one from the UK of Drake Maverick?
So, Drake Maverick. Man, so unlucky that, isn't it? Twice in the space of, well, I suppose just over a year, isn't it? But
yeah, because when that first initial one last year happened, he was in that list. It was
really fresh into the pandemic at that point as well.
And I think he was the 205 Live GM at the time, which was also a bit surprising.
It was going through, so it was around about the same time as that tournament, wasn't it, for the Cruiserweight title? Or was that just after?
I think it might have been at that time as well. Because I'm trying to remember. Was it a champion got injured, and they had to get a tournament go? No, it was Devlin was the champion, but because he was in the UK, he couldn't defend it, so they did an interim title.
Oh, of course, yeah. And then of course you had the whole speaking out thing. So
yeah.
To cover the whole thing a bit more broadly first, so because I think the news was initially broken. Initially broken by Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful. But obviously it happened early hours of the morning for us in the UK, but allegedly the talent got their calls between 8 and 9 p.m. that night. So they were late calls from John Laurinaitis, that is. But it was reported from Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men Pro Wrestling podcast that a source close to him from WWE said that apparently these releases had blindsided people. So from what you're saying, obviously, where those were names that were rumoured before...
Yeah.
That's slightly contradicting report, but...
Well, some I think were, because when it's like Jaxson Ryker, who hasn't done anything for like months, and then Shane Thorne...
Nothing of note.
Yeah, Shane Thorne, who had a gimmick change after Reckoning... what were they called?
What were they called? Good question. Retribution,
yeah. He had a gimmick change, and he was a bit more... I think they're trying to make him more feel like an Australian type gimmick, but I don't think that went anywhere.
Of course, because if you're from another country other than the States, then you you need a gimmick that says you're from that country, right?
Yeah.
But the whole thing, though, I mean, blindsided or not, going back to Drake Maverick in this instance. So last year, for those that would have probably seen, he put out the sort of immediate response or thoughts to his WWE release, and really, really... just really heartfelt video, like brutally honest. It was raw, and just the emotion of it, like how much that kind of broke him.
Yeah, it was different. It was because how many times like someone leaves and they do, I'm finally out of prison type.
Yeah, but he was genuinely sad, genuinely ripped apart by being let go last year, and then that video became so big, and I think so many people felt that.
Definitely.
That it actually led to him being rehired.
Yeah, because it felt like he was the only one of that whole list that people kind of got behind, even though like there was loads of fan favourites. Because
of the one video. Yeah. I feel like it was that video that really put him on the map as like, wow. These are real people. This is a dream job for a lot of people. And obviously was for him. But yeah, fast forward 1 year, 1 year and a bit. And here he is again. He's gone. and he released within the same day the Immediate Thoughts video, which immediate thoughts, but not really, because again, going back to, although apparently it blindsided people, he knew this was coming, I think, because there's no way, I mean, if he did, fair play to him, but there's no way that he made this video.
Well, yeah, like I said,
in under 24 hours.
Yeah, like I said, he might have been on the original list, but this was, he did the UK tour, so they probably couldn't.
Right, exactly. I mean, yeah, you literally said like 2 weeks ago, you literally saw him live.
Yeah. And then,
along with some of the others.
Yeah, Morrison.
Yeah.
And then he won the 24/7 title for like 2 seconds and lost it again.
But he put the video out, and, you know, the immediate, not really immediate thoughts, but man, it starts off literally the same footage from last year, and then it kind of just cuts to black. Well, not cuts to black, but it cuts to him in a darkened room, and he's filmed this, and it's so well produced, so well put together. Hence why, I don't think he's done that straight away afterwards. But if he is, then Hollywood should probably snap him up too. But yeah, he's sat down and he's got this video of then him coming into the room and talking to himself. But like, look, man, like you can't pull this one again. And it's just having this real, like, what gave me like Rocky Balboa vibes. You know, the 6th one, it gets put into all the different motivational sort of tracks and everything that, you get knocked down, you got to get back up. That was a poor impression, but you looking at me like you don't know what I was on about. So
no, I was going. I know he does that. Sunshine and Rainbows.
It was a keep moving. It was the one when he comes back, and it's the 6th one when he's a bit older and he goes up against Mason Dixon. I
can remember the guy.
Yeah, but that one. But yeah, it gave me vibes like that. But he's like giving himself this big pep talk. Like, look, it wasn't our dream to be a WWE superstar. We wanted to be a professional wrestler. And we've done everything we've set out to do in life, but we've got so much more left to accomplish. But we're not going to be able to do that unless you get up. But just one of the things, like, repeating get up and repeats you're a success. Like, it just really struck a chord with me. You're a success. He is a success already. Yeah. And I didn't really fully appreciate or probably realise that until watching this video. Because you think about it, and he said it in there, like, look, if they gave you the manager role, you made it work. 24/7 title, you made it work. And last time they fired you made that work for you as well. So it's a good, I think it is spot on. Like, yeah, all right, he's not Roman Reigns, but then never at a point in wrestling have you ever had everybody be at the top spot, but we'll always look back so fondly with good memories and memorable moments from people within the mid-card or under if they've been prominent features on the product. And I think, although it's, everything kind of has been a bit of a blur over the last few years, Maverick has been pretty consistent on the product in terms of at least being on TV. And to be fair to him, he did make we don't really like the 24/7 title stuff that much.
No, not. It used to be fun, but then it just lost its way.
Yeah. But him and, he's one of the people that made that bearable. He's one of the people that actually, a lot of those segments were quite good. Him and R-Truth together, especially around the wedding stuff.
Oh, that was fun. That was funny.
Yeah, exactly. And he's, but again, a moment, and we can talk about that now. We'll remember those.
Yeah.
But for the right reasons.
My favourite moment was, I think there was like a load of them trapped in the lift, and one of them was EC3, and he was like, it was just before the wedding, and he was like, I'm getting married, and EC3's like, oh, that's great. And he's like, Drake's like, you're the best man, you should know this right now.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of EC3, one thing that did jump out to me in this video was that it did look quite similar setting, like when it was dark. Looked like a similar setting to EC3's, the one used in EC3's videos, the Freedom Narrative ones. Yeah. And again, obviously, they are best friends. So whether or not it's just because they've used the same guys, or actually if it indicates that they might be doing something together, because the video ends with him taking off his WWE shirt and splashing the water on his face, and then he gets a text message come through, and he looks at that, looks up from his phone and gives a little smile. So, like something's in the works. But
AEW.
Yeah, was it Tony? Tony, was that you?
Well, I would have said probably he has the history of Impact, so that might be, but...
Oh, that was my immediate thought, but I think regardless, it's the same as pretty much everyone else in this situation. They're going to be... I guess they are going to be just fine no matter where they go, but it still sucks. Like we said last week, it's really frustrating because the overall reasons behind it are completely bogus. You can't keep stating that it's for budget cuts.
Yeah.
How much more of the budget needs cutting at this point? Like, what are we trying to get it to?
I have no idea.
What does it need to be at? Like, what is the end goal here?
It's just... It feels like it's the... what's the word I'm thinking of? Default setting whenever someone gets released. It's always budget cuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like a copy-paste email job to everybody. I'm sure it's probably not even far off of that.
It's like them saying, what should we put down? We'll scroll down. Budget cut.
Budget cut, yeah. That's the most broad example and reason we can give without having to explain much else because we're a business and businesses make budget cuts. Yeah, bullshit. But, you know what? Look, this video, you watched it just before we started recording.
Yeah.
What did you think to it?
Very well done. It's always weird when they have the wrestler talking to themselves. In a way, but then...
Yeah.
But then, yeah, just...
I kind of feel that you could take all of the wrestling context out of that, though, and that was such an uplifting video. Like, it did strike a chord with me. I just think you could honestly apply that to yourself. Like, that is a conversation that you will have in your own head. You have to. And you can't let yourself be beaten up and be beaten down in those situations. So, fair play to him. But I think that video, you should show that to anybody feeling a bit down on their luck or in a position that they didn't want to find themselves in.
Yeah.
You know, like, you got to know your worth. So, yeah, you are a success. Drake Maverick, or should we say Rockstar Spud now?
More than likely. I don't know if he had any other names in wrestling, but...
Whatever he goes with. But honestly, that video, I think, is a defining moment for him. And I think people should take note. But absolutely fair play to him. And he's make that work for you. That's what you got to do now.
Yeah.
Screw him. He's added to that product, and he doesn't need them. They need him. They needed all these people. Well, maybe not all of them in the nicest way. They obviously should have trimmed some fat, but it shouldn't have been done like this.
But there was the thing of what else could he have done apart from 24/7, really?
Well, yeah, but that's up to Vince and the creative team, isn't it? What else can he do? Well, you're booking it.
Am I? Oh, okay.
But do you know what I mean? Like, it's up to them.
Yeah, but it's also like
he's shown he's versatile enough that you can put him in so many different situations and he will make them work. It's Vince that chooses to typecast people.
It's also once Big Damo left, that when they had that tag team together on NXT, it kind of once he left, Damo left, it was like kind of brought him back into the.
Had to give him something. Yeah, exactly. Had to give him something brand new to do.
His size probably didn't help him at all.
Well, not that it should matter, but yeah.
No, but
no, you're right.
Maybe he could have been a manager again, but...
Is that any way to... He's done that. Let's get him in the ring, man, and let's just see more of him, and I can't wait. But you talk about people being split from tag teams and not knowing what to do, probably leads us nicely into the next one, or next three, we should say, from the list, which was the remaining members of Hit Row, all three of them.
Yeah.
Ashante the Adonis...
Swerve
Scott, and, of course...
Top Dollar.
So... the Top Dollar one, apparently pretty outspoken, and he come across that on Twitter, but you know, again, you got to know your worth. Don't just sit there and take it. But I don't know what they were like behind the scenes, but I do know that it's a really strange business decision to call them all up and including BFAB, call all of Hit Row up to then release one member, like after what, a week or 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
And then 2 weeks later release the others. Like, just when we hadn't even scratched the surface yet.
Because one story is that they weren't happy about the BFAB situation, so that could have been. But there's also, Top Dollar did a promo on, because they were building between them and Jinder, and
they did a rap battle thing, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a rap, and
they was doing stuff with Sami Zayn.
Yeah, but there was I think it was a Twitter video where Top Dollar did something about Jinder, and it was a bit racist. I haven't seen it myself, but it was a lot of Indian references.
But WWE literally make Jinder Mahal's character an Indian.
Yeah. But I think the words he said...
They literally put Jinder Mahal in a Punjabi prison match.
I wish I was on the games after they did it first.
Do you know what I mean, though? Like, I'm not trying to defend racism of any sort.
All right, Cody.
But you can't... I don't know. I can't see that could have been a reason, surely. And this wasn't even that long ago. Like, when was Jinder champ?
2 years, 3 years.
2016, 17?
2017?
Right. So, yeah, about 3-4 years ago.
One of the reasons I think wrestling business died was when he became champion.
And like,
I mean, only because it was out of nowhere. It didn't really do anything for him.
Yeah, it fell a bit flat, didn't it? But again, there was I think that was more of a business decision to do that because of the kind of move into India at that point.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. Well, it kind of goes back to what we were saying a minute ago about Shane Thorne. Give him the Australian gimmick because he's from Australia. So we give the Indian talent an Indian gimmick because he's from India. Like,
wow, he's Canadian.
Hit Row, though. What was the point?
No idea. Like I said, there was a rumour that they were upset with the B-Fab situation and they've been... But once again, it's one of these online things where apparently they're not being great backstage, but you hear so many times after someone's got released, like with Bray Wyatt, it was the same.
Well, they can't state that someone wasn't great backstage but cling to the budget cuts then. If you're releasing someone because they weren't great backstage...
Well, it did feel weird that they kept Jaxson Ryker for so long after he had history of...
Yeah, I know, but I agree. It feels like...
It's also weird when Jaxson Ryker looks like the guy that WWE would be after.
But then you hear those stories that Vince doesn't like tattoos. Again, though, you know, I don't know if that where that comes from, how true some of those are, but yeah, I mean, in terms of the whole batch is puzzling, but one of the ones that I can see probably why they did it, I still don't agree with it at all, but the Tegan Knox one. Yeah,
that was probably the one I was more surprised with.
I was kind of surprised, but kind of not, because I got the Hideo Itami vibe from that, because she's had such a poor run in terms of not how she's been in the ring, but just injury after injury. Like every time she kind of gets going, she's sidelined with an injury, and I feel like it was the same for Kenta, obviously Hideo Itami for that as well. You just couldn't build up any momentum. But then not all of that is really on her and the injuries. You know, she had that tag team with Shotzi, which was, for all intensive purposes, pretty entertaining. And they were building that story where they got that title shot, and that went nowhere.
Yeah, they should be the tag champions, because they beat the champions like more times than Nikki and Rhea Ripley.
They became number one contender in it, but the match just never happened, and it went away with no explanation.
Yeah.
Typical WWE booking and programming. Like, you watch it one week, you watch it the next week. It was like watching a completely different show.
Yeah.
That means nothing anymore. So no consistency. And again, it makes being invested in the product really difficult, because you can't invest in storylines because they chop and change so quickly and they drop them without explanation. And you can't invest in talent because you get, you know, a unit like Hit Row come up that look quite fresh, quite different, quite new, look like they're going to probably integrate quite well with other tag teams.
Yeah.
And then they're out the door. So
apparently, before the releases on Thursday, they were going to be involved in a tag team battle royal for Survivor Series. And then obviously that what's happened. So now that the battle royal is just like a single.
Well, regardless of what I don't even know if they probably know what the plans are going to be themselves yet. Because even after the really, really strangely announced teams for teams for Survivor Series on Twitter, I don't mean that the teams were strange. I just mean the manner in which it was done was strange, which we talked about last week. But you know, and they've changed like not an awful lot, but you know, even that's changed. Sheamus has now been added in.
Yeah, and Austin Theory's on Raw.
Right. So it's just, you can't keep up, can you? The Tegan Knox, man, that's a big shame. But she's one of those. What I was saying just before we kicked into this was, I think the youngest maybe of all those talents.
She's
early 20s.
Yeah, I would say 23, 24.
She's early 20s, so I mean, she has got a whole career ahead of her. But
she it's not like this is her first. She's been wrestling for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, the indies will pick her up. Or another company might pick her up, but it is tricky because again you're looking at a time now where Ring of Honor closed their doors, at least
for now,
but at least for, you know, offering contracts. AEW can't realistically take on much more talent.
No.
Impact probably can't take on much more talent.
But
leaves MLW.
I think Impact needs more women, for single women anyway.
Oh, they do. But you've still got to spend the money for them. I don't know what their budgets are all like and everything else, but every company's going to have a limit on what they can spend. So, and this is a lot of talent. I mean, this latest batch takes them up to, I think, it's got to be around about the 80 mark. And if you pair that with last year, scratch off one because Drake Maverick twice, but it's over 100. Over 100 people, over 100 wrestlers. But Tegan, she will be fine. And, in terms of the John Morrison one, I'll be honest, I kind of saw that one come in.
Kind of. Not just because of his wife a couple of weeks before, but because he's one of these people that doesn't feel like they've done anything for a long time.
They just stuck in with some, again, weird gimmicks. Was with The Miz too long.
Well, I felt, and it's annoying, once again, because how I talked about Nia and Eva Marie had been taken out by Shayna for storyline purposes before they obviously got released. They can't get back at her. Miz and Morrison, I don't think had their feud because Miz did Dance with the Stars, and he's.
Oh man, I don't get it. I really don't get it. But Taya, she struck out on Twitter with a series of tweets. Taya, well, this was one of them. Taya put, "Stop supporting a company that has zero respect for their talent. You love pro wrestling, spend your money on the hundreds of other alternatives. This is wrong. Ethically, as employers, they don't care about us, talent or fans." What do you reckon of that?
Well, I didn't know there was hundreds of alternatives, if that means...
Well, you got to include the indies.
Well, yeah, but to me, it didn't feel like there was that many... I didn't know there was that many indies in America, or at least in the world. It always feels like you always hear about certain mounts. You don't hear about the ones... Because obviously there'll be local ones in America that we don't know about, but...
You're always going to... but you think we're no different. I mean, we talk about a lot of the same promotions on the podcast every week. And it's your bigger hitters. Like, they're the ones that get the most exposure.
I don't get the supporting thing.
What do you mean? What don't you get?
Because it made me think about... Because don't support WWE. I never supported them.
But you do support them.
Do I?
Do you have the WWE network?
Yeah.
How much do you pay for that a month?
$9.99 safer.
So that supports WWE because it puts money in the pocket.
Yeah, but I'm not going to stop
buying the merch. No, exactly. No,
I'm not going to stop support. But I'm not going to stop supporting. I'm not going to support. Not going to stop supporting my football team just because they got rid of someone I like.
But is that different though? Because
but you're not going to say, like maybe because it always gets me mad. Not mad, but like when was it LeBron James moved from one team to another, and you can still not like it, but you still got a whole team full of players that
it's big uproar.
Yeah,
but obviously you're sad and you're annoyed because he's going over to essentially the enemy.
Well, most of I've kind of got to a point now where I don't want to have favourites in my football for any football team. Because like, if they're good, they'll go somewhere else. And
but I think that the difference is, though, in that is that it's going to break down different types of wrestling fans because you've got people that are WWE hardcore fans, like they're only watching WWE product. And let's face it, there's a lot of that. Most of the income they probably get are those types of fans, I would have thought. And that's going to be predominantly like your younger audience, right? But the difference I feel with what you're saying there is that if in a football club, one player leaves that team to go to another, they're still a footballer. They're still going to be paid. They're still within. Well, they're still within the industry. Yeah. Like I know as a wrestler, you can be released from WWE. You can still be within the industry, but you have to go and find another job. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like you support Blackburn Rovers. Blackburn Rovers is like, actually, look, we don't really want to renew your contract because, quite frankly, we think you don't offer anything to this team.
That was a Vince McMahon line, that one.
Right, but, in that instance, there is a football club that's going to pick that person up. Like he'll just move into another one, start negotiations before he's lost his job. They don't just get rid of you, then tell you that you can't play anywhere else for 90 days.
No, there is.
There's some real big differences to that. And in this one particularly, you've got to look at it like, right, Tyre gets released 2 weeks ago, then her husband talked about this in the podcast a couple of weeks ago with Keith Lee and Mia Yim being released together. And, of course, Scarlett and Cross. They're releasing households. And they know they're releasing households right on top of Christmas. And Tyre and Morrison, they're both going to have 90-day no-competes. I'd imagine most of that... Tyre would have... Oh, no, of course, yeah, sorry. Tyre's got 30. I imagine most of this list is 90.
Oh, they're all main roster.
Pretty much. But you can't deny it's a scumbag move. And I don't think you should feel... As a fan, you shouldn't have to feel bad about supporting WWE if you like what you watch as a product. Because if you can set all of that aside from what happens behind the scenes, whoever's listening, whoever you may be, that's fine. You're not doing anything wrong by supporting the WWE because you enjoy their product. You enjoy what you want to enjoy. But I completely understand, and I completely do agree with Tyre on the basis that the product wasn't for me anymore and hasn't been for a long time. So I had to remove myself. If it wasn't for us doing the podcast and WWE being the most well-known wrestling name going ever, I probably wouldn't even do WWE. I probably wouldn't even cover it. Just because on the basis that I wouldn't want to... Because, they know they're the big dog in the yard. They're not going to lose money. They're making more and more money.
Yeah.
They're going to make more money when it comes up to renewing the TV deals. They're going to make more money from Saudi. They're going to make just a shed load of money. For you watch the product still. You don't enjoy a lot of it, but you still enjoy the WWE.
Every week there's always something good, but everyone comes to it on a negative.
Right.
Because it's easier.
It is easier, absolutely. But this is, again, you have to take the product away now from what happens with people's real life situations. Which is crazy, isn't it? Because you wouldn't have done this 20, 30 years ago.
Well, no, because we didn't have what we have now.
No, I know. And it's mental, isn't it? Like how people maybe would have reacted 30 years ago.
Yeah, because we didn't... Let's be honest, we never... When, say, like, Nash and Hall left...
yeah, that would have been...
We wouldn't have probably gone, oh, wait, that's something in WCW. I'll watch that instead.
I imagine there probably was some of that back in the day, but...
Well, obviously, because they won the ratings.
Yeah, exactly.
But would it...
I suppose it's a big thing, isn't it? That it can that opens up a big can of worms if we want to go down that route. Which, we probably don't have enough time in the day to really go through all of that. But there's arguments on all sides there, and I can see the argument on all sides. But in terms of supporting, I think that's what they're getting at. It's about where you're putting your money. So you're giving, they want you to stop giving that money to a company that's already now saving loads more by releasing. So basically I think the tweet was aimed directly at you. Stop giving them $9.99 a month.
Well, tell people to stop using my network then. Because this isn't a wrestling news bit, but Peacock is now on Sky in the UK. Okay. But obviously I don't think the network's on that yet. I don't know if we will.
We probably won't get Peacock, I wouldn't have thought.
Well, it's on the Sky. I don't know if you have to pay for it.
I'd imagine you would.
So,
I'd imagine you would. Like everything else on Sky, I would have thought that would have been the route.
Yeah, but you know how like Now TV and all that kind of stuff.
You still have to pay though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I don't know how much difference because.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen I've seen the adverts, but not seen if it says this how much it costs more. But yeah.
Well, it's crazy. Obviously, the biggest bit of news from the week, from WWE's camp anyway. But whether you like WWE or not, regardless of what your position is on them as a company and their product, it's the talent. They're the forefront of the stories on the news topics like this because it's them. They're out of work. It should never be a case of so-and-so. It should have been so-and-so instead of that person. Like we say.
I hate that.
No, I'm not a fan of that at all.
It's like when it was like The amount of times even Marie before she left the first time.
Yeah. She was one of the bigger ones from, like, I think from the one couple of weeks ago when people were like, oh, finally, should have been her ages ago. Like, no, it shouldn't. It's tricky. We can't really sit here and say it shouldn't be anybody. Like, WWE did have way too much talent. Way too much talent.
Yeah, I know it's a different thing, but UFC used to have like 500 contracted fighters, and there's like 11 trial fight cards every time they have a show. So I know it's different because they don't do it every day, but you still have too many people
on the books.
Actually, once they get at least a few people, it's not as big a deal as when WWE does it, because once again, you don't have like a clause that says you can't fight for this long.
Because it's exclusive to this whole independent contractor business. So, yeah. Really crazy, though. Strange times, honestly, because the amount of talent they've released so far this year alone, you could build a promotion with on the sheer numbers.
Yeah, it was like that joke about that with the long list before, like people who was on 2K20.
Oh, literally, like there's got to be like hardly anyone left. Yeah, I don't know. The developers for 2K22 must be honestly pulling their hair out at this point.
Well, they did say that it's going to be the most legends.
Yeah, because they need them.
Yeah, it's going to be like Kane 99 and Kane 2002.
It's just going to be 2003. Literally an attire for each month, just to pad it out. But no. I don't get it, don't understand it, but I suppose the last one to end with on those ones, because it was just more of a he saw the bright side of it, I guess, was Shane Thorne's, going back to him, but he was tweeting out that oi, who gave him my number?
Why? What was that going to be Australian?
No, I can try Australian if you want.
Who
gave him my number? Put another Vince on the barbie.
When was he Cockney?
You've backed me into a corner now, where I'm going to come across as foolish. So,
well, you didn't even need me to do that, but
I didn't. No, but now we've put it out there for the world to see. But yeah, no, he did. He took the bright side of it, and that's all you can do, innit? Really.
But yeah, sometimes you just need to take it as it is.
Yeah, but like we said, it's one of those things where they're going to be fine, but they shouldn't have been put into this position to begin with. Hopefully WWE is just going to stop hiring people when they just don't need them. Apparently this could become a yearly trend anyway.
I think it used to anyway, back in like 2006, 2007. It did.
Yeah, it was like you could count on one hand though.
Yeah, it was like 8 people and then nothing for the whole year, it felt like, apart from probably someone who like just had a contract not renewed, and
or if there were genuine issues with somebody. But we'll have to see what happens if they're going to do any more next year. But I mean, surely enough's enough at this point. Like you've got to. I don't know if WWE. We've got Survivor Series, which is coming up tomorrow night. I said before, honestly, with no build really whatsoever for this show.
No.
That's one way of looking at it, but maybe the other way of looking at it is that we've all been worked and they've been building to Survivor Series for over a year in-house, because who's left? Who's actually surviving the budget cuts?
Well, that's it. I was going to say Survivor Series is kind of a apt name at the minute.
Yeah, literally.
Well, do we think there was a time when Survivor Series nearly got cut?
Yeah. Crazy. And now everyone else that needs to pad out a Survivor Series card gets cut instead, so...
Royal Rumble's going to be funny this year as well.
Oh, they're going to have to move that to 20-man at this rate.
Yeah, because you imagine they say, we're going to do a 40-man.
Yeah, who with?
Well, obviously NXT 2.0 and the Legends, but they're kind of running out of Legends now.
Yeah. Terrible news, really. But at the same time, and to that token, wherever they all end up, I think they're going to be all right.
Yeah, we always go negative about they're being released, but they're going to be wrestled somewhere. Doesn't matter if it's in front of 50 people or 50,000 people, they're still going to wrestle.
50 or 50,000, you got to do what you got to do.